We've got some
Hey,
fresh
I'm
new young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things that I
Luis.
know
You're
you haven't
listening to the
heard
Content
before.
is Profit podcast.
So, how do businesses and creators like us, who did not cheat with hacks and tactics and don't want to be stuck content wheel of death, how do we build a modern media team and profit from our content?
This creators economy, pre-filled templates, and content calendars have become the solution for those that are not willing to put in the work and build a real business. Those that are get rewarded are the ones that create and control their own process.
That is right. Content can be a distraction or your biggest lever. Here, you learn to develop the systems to create consistently, build trust with your audience, and get the attention of those that are willing to give you money.
Go to contentisprofit.com to get started today and join the community. Let's go, FONZI. Good job.
Go. Dude, you started that one so quick that I was putting my coffee cup down and a little drop just went in between my glasses, bling, and just landed right on my eye. But it's okay.
That was on purpose.
I can take on the pain because today's episode is absolutely amazing. We're gonna be talking about making marketing great again, the role of comedy in content.
Let's go. I can't wait to dive into this because I mean everybody thinks I'm funny but my wife. So we're just gonna put this to rest. I see our guest laughing in there.
Not just your wife.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. But before we do that, do we have a sponsor today, FONZI?
Indeed, we do. Thank you for asking, good sir. And today's sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS. If you produce a long-form piece of content, just like this one that you're listening to or watching, and you want to multi-purpose and send them into the interwebs like little minions to get you more clients, we are here for you to help you out. So slide in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Facebook, on Instagram.
You want to know how that sounds to me?
How does that sound?
Like that, baby. Let's go. Ka-ching. Cash flow. Hey, guys, do us a favor, please. Go ahead and follow the show on your favorite platform, every podcasting platform on YouTube, on social media, because every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, these episodes are dropping directly to your phone with incredible lessons and action points for you to move your business and life forward. So go ahead and follow the show and on social media at BIZBROSCO.
That is right. And if today's guests help you take one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode because you might be doing the exact same thing for somebody else. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review.
Let's go. We are back. And today's guest is a good friend we met earlier this year at an incredible marketing event. He's not just a cool, funny dude, but he's the heck of a marketer.
That's right. Today's guest is the go-to marketer when it comes to standing out and getting attention for your business through humor marketing. You want laughs and clicks? Today's guest is your guy.
He's the founder of comedy.io, comedy with a K, and the host of the Win with Wit podcast. He has started 17 businesses from which he has had incredible lessons, which he'll be sharing today, and he has broken 3 world records. But he's no longer the record holder of any. Just say we gotta talk about this. But really, you have to talk. You have to put that in there, man. Come on. Okay.
I'm curious on what those records are. You know, I mean, I'm sure one of those are for coolest dude on the world, but we'll see. I would be surprised. I'm like, why did you lose that record? But let's go. Please welcome host of Win with Wit, founder of comedy.io, and the Witmaster, Ben Willson.
Dude, this is amazing. It's probably my favorite podcast I've ever been on.
Let's go. Is it your first
Dude,
podcast that you're on?
I can just keep watching this whole thing just keep rolling, man. This is like a Hispanic comedy show. It's just like, dude, keep bringing this on. I don't need to be here.
Hey, of course, you just light up this place, Ben. And let me tell you, you just gotta wait. I'm gonna tease it again, but you gotta wait for the next version of Content is Profit. Content is Profit 2.0. 2.0 is coming soon. It's in the books. We're planning something pretty awesome. That is gonna look more like a Hispanic comedy show.
Really?
Dude, this is like, what is that, telenovela? Is that right?
Nope, not telenovela.
Should we have
That's
scripts
a
and
soap
everything?
opera.
Don't go there, but like Fonzie will be very dramatic if you ask him to.
I love it. It's like a game show. I feel like I'm a contestant on your game show right now. And you guys, your synergy is amazing. I would love to have like one person that have synergy like this in my life.
You want the secret? I'll tell you the secret right now.
Please do.
You need a brother with the same name. That's it. Like it has to. Come on, Ben. Where's your?
I've got 3 brothers. Their names that are the same, but we all have like very generic white man names.
Hey, you can still change your name, so you know it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah. For those wondering, yes, we are real brothers. We get that question all the time. It's not just for the business. But Ben, dude, like stop talking, Fonzie. This is about you. We met you earlier in this incredible event, right, in person, and we chatted for quite a while. I love the shirt that you have right now that says legalized comedy. I love it. And when you start explaining what you do, I'm like, that's genius, right?
And why he does
and
it,
why
too.
you do it, right? Like with comedy and mixing it with marketing and secret saucing it. Now, where you said we said in the intro 17 businesses, right? And our story, I don't know if we get to 17 businesses, but quite there, right? And I'm intrigued why you chose that thing. Like why do you keep going, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
First of all, great question. And so to also follow that up, not all the businesses worked out, right? In fact, that's why you keep going, right? Another one fails, and you keep trying, you learn some lessons, and you go and figure out, like, you know, I liked these parts of this business, but I also didn't like these other parts. And so you try to keep molding it into something that you do like and what you want to put out there. And you also, some of the lessons that you learn are coming from customer feedback, what people want to buy and what interests them. And you start to learn more about like human behavior along the way. And so part of your businesses get shaped by if people want to buy your products or if they're interested in it. And you start to see in your marketing where people take action, right? Your marketing comes down to helping someone to take action in their life that they weren't already going to take action on. So a caveat with that, right? A lot of businesses had lots of lessons with it. Some of them I did on my own, some of them that I had amazing business partners with. And, you know, we could keep going down what maybe some of those businesses were and why we kept pivoting. Ultimately, when I ended up with comedy.io, I've started with another amazing entrepreneur named Stephanie Hong. She's in Japan right now. So our business is shifting depending on like how we operate and how we work. But it all came together when we met in New York City. And I had come out of a different business that I've been working in with a very boring business that had to do marketing for prosthodontists. Most people have no idea what a prosthodontist is. They think they're like the guys are going to stick like 2 fingers in your ear. But they end up actually being these guys who do these like full mouth restorations. So most people have no idea who they are. So it was like, could we create marketing around and promoting prosthodontists? Did that for about 9 months and ended up being very depressed. And we built a successful business, started building a team, an amazing business partner. And slowly, though, I realized that the clients that I was working with weren't actually my favorite people. A lot of the times they were trying to handle the marketing themselves or just wanted to put out very boring content that I already knew wasn't going to work. So that's one major thing when you start a business is the type of customers that you serve. Do you want to hang out with them outside of work? Are they the type of people that you'd have a great conversation with if it wasn't about business? And those are the type of things that you don't recognize until you've built something that starts to become a little more successful and starts to attract more of that same client. And you realize your problems aren't just with one client. It seems like every single person you're attracting is bringing this like similar problems. So we started this business after I had originally come to a conclusion myself. I got really depressed in that last business, and I started watching comedy specials just to smile and laugh and feel like I was part of like a human of some sort. And as I started watching these comedy specials, I started realizing that comedians and marketers, we think very much alike. The way that we think about an audience, the way that we're trying to craft a message that resonates with them and gets them to think about something in a very different way. So that was the initial piece of just realizing maybe there's something to do with comedians and marketers. And then I ended up meeting Stephanie Hong, and she had already come up with a conclusion of comedians are really good at writing copy. So we ended up forming this company, comedy.io, where we have comedians help marketers write humorous content that helps brands to stand out, helps you sell your product. And we ended up doing this one ad for a buddy of mine's product. And I just filmed it in my apartment in New York City, and it was like a test run to see if we could do it.
Yeah.
I filmed it right on my phone and edited it, wrote it in about 45 minutes, hired a comedian of my, a friend of mine, Jordan Macon, to help me like write some of the funny parts of it.
Yeah.
And then the ad went on to do about $200,000 in sales. So it was like the first light bulb of like, okay, even if like a moron like me, who's not an actor, I'm not funny, and I can hire a comedian to help me write the script, and then doesn't have to be high quality, right? Filming on your phone can end up producing that amount of revenue. Like, what could happen if you had a comedian, like a team around it, or more marketing, or more of a quality of production? Like, what if you could take all the things that I did wrong and do it right? What could that look like for your business?
Yeah.
So that was the birth of comedy.io.
Powerful, man. Powerful. Like, I remember the interview we had with Mario Nafal, right? And we talked about pebbles, right? The pebbles. And for him, the journey was very similar to, and, you know, we have a common friend on Steve Larson, right? And he mentions like his journey, right? On all these businesses, right? And when we first started, or at least when this was my very personal thought. I don't know what FONZI thinks about this, but like, okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Cool. Thank you, bro. Okay. I thought, okay, we start one business and we got to stick with it, right? Like that, this is it. Like, this is the thing that's going to work forever and ever and ever, right?
Same.
And you say, okay, see why?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it was a C.
See, okay. So what happened was like similar thing, like with the stickers, something happened that we're like, this is not the thing, right? And then we transition into screen printing, and then we don't really like printing t-shirts out of the garage at 90-degree weather, right? And then it changed again. But every stage, I guess, left a lesson, right? Like, and it was a very powerful lesson that when we, like you mentioned, we apply it. So I want to encourage everybody that's tackling right now their dream business, like, or what you think is your dream business. Expect this, like, expect to pivot, expect that you're not gonna like it, and that's okay. That is part of the process, right? And even today with the product that we have, it started at some point, and within the product it has evolved, right? So we're finding this thread as we move forward with the opportunities that are coming our way, right? And I think your resilience, Ben, like that you showed, moving forward, and like finding these opportunities and be like grabbing exactly what you like, what you enjoy, the dreams client. You know, I recognize that I don't like working with that type of person. Sounds good. I have the freedom to not accept that type of person in whatever I'm selling, right? How wonderful is that? So let's look at this as an opportunity, right? And it took me a second to create that mind shift. It was not easy for me because I'm like, am I not being the good entrepreneur because I'm not sticking with this one thing, instead of like, hey, let's shift this. Like, what is the lesson? You know, what is the thing that I can keep going? And then we recognize tractions and so on. So I appreciate you, man, with your honesty and putting this up front, because this is one of the things that you send us. And we're like 17 businesses, right? And lessons, and not a lot of people talk about this. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think. Oh, sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
You guys can go at the same time.
You ready? Okay, on count of three, we're gonna both start talking.
Let's do it.
No, I think a lot of times, you know, you say something like 17 businesses and people just automatically assume every single business hit and was like a home run, and that you're well off and you know everything that you're doing. It's a false belief, because a lot of times we want to project that someone else would know that, and that we ourselves have some reason for not trying. Right? Instead, what I like to do is break that stigma and go, look, entrepreneurship is hard. Every single day, it's a new battle. And whether the battle is actually trying to get your product out there and to be sold, or the other is just a mental battle, right? There's a lot that comes with just every day showing up and trying to be consistent. That in and of itself is, to me, is like 90% of entrepreneurship. The other 10% is the idea valid enough for people to buy it? And do you have enough resources or willpower to push forward and getting that product to the masses, right? But most of it is like, dude, it's between the 6 inches between your ears.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, with everything that's going on in like social media and everybody talking about founders and millionaires and billionaires, I feel like business success has been a little bit romanticized, right? And it's like people are like, oh yeah, if I start a business, I'm going to be successful. And it's not going to be like that. Honestly, most of it is going to fail and you're going to hit yourself hard, but you're going to learn some very important lessons along the way that when you get to business number 18, right, you're gonna kick some butt. So I'm curious, along that journey with these 17 businesses, what has been maybe 2 or 3 lessons that you have taken with you along the way, right? That maybe the person listening right now can benefit as well.
Yeah, the first thing I would do is go try sell something. Like whatever your business is, if you've got a good idea, try to go sell it. Even if it requires like an actual tangible product, I still go see if you can sell it. That's the first major thing that I did wrong early on, was like, you can go start something, but if no one knows about it and no one actually wants to give you money for it, is it actually relevant, or does it exist? Right? It exists here, but at the same time, like if it's a business, then you should be able to sell it at some point. Even if it's a Kickstarter, like go and sell the idea of the product and see if someone will give you money for that. If worse comes to worse, you have to give the people their money back. You've at least validated that someone is willing to part with their money in exchange for the product, even if you don't have the product.
Yeah.
The next thing I would say is, if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, do it alone, right? And that's a very cliche statement, but what I've learned is it's a lot better to have other people around you who have different skill sets than you, who you're both on the same vision. Now, working with other people can be difficult, right? They have their own backgrounds. It's like it's a relationship in and of itself. Yeah. Just as much as you've got a relationship with a spouse or a parent or a friend, it requires listening, communicating, and then money gets involved. So that's always when it gets a little weird, is if you have a business partner that was only looking for money and isn't looking to prove out ideas or to go along with you on some of the things, and everything revolves around just the dollar. That can also be difficult in creating a good, healthy relationship with your partner.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The last thing, honestly, I'd say is you're not going to find your best idea on the first try. So one thing that I really love about comedians is that they recognize that not every joke is going to hit, but every single day they're getting up on stage. In fact, the comics that are in New York City, there's so many different spots for them to go perform in that they'll go and do like 5 or 6 spots a night, and they'll try joke after joke, and they keep trying, and they just twist like a word, or they change like a phrase, they change the punchline, they change the setup, they change when they put the joke into their bit or their act. And out of let's say they tell 10 jokes, 1 might hit that they'll then stick and then put that into their act. But over the amount of times that they're telling jokes, they end up telling about thousands of jokes before they really have like a comedy special that comes out where every single joke hits. And even then, they've tried those jokes in so many different places around the country. Different spots will laugh at different types of jokes. And so what they're really doing is saying, like, how many of the masses can I get to laugh? Not everyone's going to laugh, but if I tell a joke in Jacksonville, Florida versus Nashville, Tennessee, is there a different laughter, or did my timing go wrong? So there's a lot of variables. Same thing in entrepreneurship. There's a lot of variables that you don't know about until you start trying. And if you're not willing to try and continue trying new things, like, it's going to be like one of those comedians that doesn't have any jokes hit, and you think you're funny, but at the end of the day, it's not funny and no one's connecting with it.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely see the relationship there between comedians and marketers, right? I mean, you're talking about test, and then you get to invest, right? And it's the same when you're talking about content, right? We mentioned it plenty of times here. Is about that consistency. It's about showing up, and what you think it might be a really good piece of content for yourself, like, the audience might have a totally different opinion, right? Or vice versa. Maybe something that you thought was horrible and you put it out there and people love it. So it's about putting it out there into the world consistently, so you can receive feedback and then you adapt, right? Yeah. So and also the fact that comedians are trying to get something out of the audience, which is that laughter, and marketers are trying to get something out of the audience, which is an action, right? I know you guys were thinking I was gonna go money, but no, it's an action, right? Where we're trying to get people to hey, go click here, right? For example, if it's an ad, go to the website so you can read more, and then on the website there's specific copy with a specific action attached to that. So like you mentioned, I see so many similarities in here between comedians and marketers.
I love it. I mean, there's a couple things. One is we're currently helping a business where they have this sales process that lasts about 7 days. So as soon as when we came in, we're like, wow, that's kind of like a long period for the industry that they're in, right? And then we're like, okay, we had a question at the very beginning. Do we actually go for the sale day one, right? Or what is the thing? Like, what is the process? What is the proven process, right? So around the third visit of the people into this business, they actually come back and they ask for, hey, can I be part of this, right? So we're like, okay, that's good. So what is the job of the first day for that person? Well, the job of the first day is build a relationship and have them book for the next time that they come in, right? Second time, what is the job? Have a great relationship and book for the third time. What is the goal of the third one is go for that ask because that's when it happens, right? So I love these stages and this is something that a lot of people, and we did at first, like we overlook. We don't see until we're in it, right? And it's okay, how can we break the process down? So like, let's say on an online business, right? The job of an email is to draw that action, which is click the button to go XYZ, right? Mm-hmm. The job of the landing page, XYZ. So each one of them has a job, right? And I want to encourage everybody to start looking at what they're putting out there or their own process, whether that's in person or digital, right? What are those things? Because then guess what? It becomes really fun because now you can start measuring what are these transitions, right? And then we can start enhancing it with company like you. Now that's one. Yeah. Number two.
Wait, before you go number two, I feel like so many people see, for example, social media as like, oh yeah, let me post a piece of content that is gonna get people pulling their credit cards out immediately. It's like, no, that is the wrong intent right there. Like, you probably. Has it happened? Yeah, sure. I'm sure it hasn't happened. But if you are a high ticket, agency, it might not be that you make one post and somebody's pulling out their credit card immediately. It's like, what is that next action? And be, have that intent and just have the focus and be like, okay, let me test out this message and see if it's working.
100%. Totally.
Yeah. So the number two, and then Ben, you can talk. No, number two is like really highlighting the mentality, right? That's behind not just the content, right? The comedians and the entrepreneurship, right? I'm obsessed with this one podcast called Your First Million or My First Million.
I can tell you're obsessed. You don't even know the name.
It's one of our millions, right?
One of those millions. They're about to change the name, by the way. But anyway, so they're both of them are investors, right? And they're breaking down the mindset of being an investor, right? And this guy is walking like, okay, look, I go out and I look at different ideas and the people behind of those ideas executing on those ideas, right? And I assume that about 60 to 70% of those things that I put money in are gonna fail. Like, he's already assuming as he's going in, putting their money out there, that they're gonna fail, right? But then he says, like, from the 30% that comes in that like grabs traction, right? I expect about 1 to 5% that really hit it off, and then that's where the money's made. But if I don't multiply my opportunities, right, with my money, then none of this is going to happen. So I'm like, wow, this is so powerful because they're comfortable with that situation. Now, let's really back, not just entrepreneurship, but with content, right? When people start with content, and this happened to us, we put one piece out there, and then we think that one piece is going to grab traction, right? But there's not enough feedback, right? So we have to expect that most of the things that we put out there are not gonna either grab traction or people are not gonna pay attention to it. They're not gonna see it. But at the same time, there's gonna be another percentage that they're gonna see. And if we do this consistently, I mean, look at the upside. You don't have to pay money to do this. Like, this could be like very low friction for you, as in Facebook Live, which, by the way, you have an update for us. It can be very low friction to put these opportunities out there, and one of those is going to hit, right? So our story with that was the first 45 Live. We ended up with a 6-figure client out of those testing messages, right? So let's say 15 days, that's what it took for that specific client. Only one was the one that landed, right? But the other ones, what are there, creating those points of contact that people saw, they didn't engage, they didn't comment, but the one video that was like, okay, 11:30 at night, that was the one that hit. So I want to encourage everybody, grab that mentality and be like, okay, if my commitment is time, right? How can I do this as fast as possible so I can grab feedback like the comedians, right? Like we've been talking about, and then grab that traction. And then once you grab that one hit, be like, okay, this is an indicator that works. Let's continue to test things out.
It's like the Pareto principle, 20% of your 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So assume 80% of your content is gonna fail, 20% is gonna succeed. I'm about to sneeze. I'm curious, Ben. What have you seen with your writers, or even in yourself too, that mindset of failure, right? And I'm doing air quotes here, of failure when their messages don't work. How do they go about maybe restructuring what they wrote to make it work? How do they take on that feedback?
There's an interesting thing that I learned from improv comedians. So improv comedians are coming up with stuff on the spot. You give them a word or a situation, and they just roll with the rest of it. The purpose of what they're trying to do is to not actually be funny. They're trying to listen to their partner so they can engage with what else to say and where to progress the scene to. Mm-hmm. So one thing that a lot of people come in is I actually learned this from a guy, Kelly Leonard, who is the executive director at Second City. It's like the largest or oldest improv troupe in the United States, and maybe like the world that's organized that way. And there's been hundreds of famous people that have come through there. Like Steve Carell came from there, Stephen Colbert came through there, Dan Aykroyd, a bunch of other amazing, awesome, well-known comedians now. And one thing that he told me on an interview was that in improv, you bring a brick, not a cathedral. To break that down, it's like sometimes you have this holy thought as to what you want your business to look like, or what you want your product to end up looking like, or what you want the marketing piece to look like. But if you come in and you expect it to be like that from day one, this cathedral, this beautiful work of art, and instead you don't bring the brick, it's hard for other people to lay their bricks onto and to see how this structure can grow. The same thing happens in business or your content. It's like every day, the best thing that you could do is to take your brick and to lay it down the very best possible you can. And over time, you'll eventually have this cathedral. You'll have a wall, whatever it is that you're building. Yeah. And this, what I noticed, about a month ago, FONZI, you committed. I got a commitment to go live every single day until we did this podcast interview. I had something come up like about a week ago. I had a friend pass away, so I was doing good up until that point, and then that happened. But what I learned by like day 3, I wasn't scared anymore. What happened was for years, I'm telling you, like years, I've had a podcast, and I ended up a long time ago, I was producing this podcast, and then one day I just got really scared from posting and publishing anymore. So I stopped for years. A horrible idea. And the longer that it was between the last time that I had podcasted and to then going live again, my nerves had built up over time. It became probably the scariest thing possible. And then I ended up seeing Tom Bilyeu go live, and I was like, you know what, he made it seem so easy. He just said, hey guys, hop in on here for a few minutes. Would love to chat, share some thoughts that I've had today. And if you got any questions, hit me up. And I thought, what an easy way to start. Sometimes I think we've got the cathedral that we think we're going to be live, and we have to have everything perfectly set, and we have to have every transition, and everything has to be so seamless and perfect that we forget what we're really doing is we should just bring the brick. Right. Yeah. And it's not pretty, it's not elegant, but it is something to lay your foundation on. So after not being scared, I was scared that first day, and then I, went live the second day. And every time before you go live, regardless of how much you prepare, your brain goes blank. It's like you push the button and then you see the countdown is 3, 2, and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot everything I was gonna say.
And then you start speaking Spanish.
Live, you're in it.
Then you start speaking Spanish.
So the next thing that I noticed was day 3, day 4, day 5, it started getting really easy. And it was okay, all I'm doing is I'm picking something that I've had a thought on today, and I'm going to talk about it for just a few minutes. And if someone hops on, they hop on. If someone doesn't, they don't. Yeah. But all I'm doing is building up my mental calluses and my muscles so that I can keep doing this and going live. So my goal was to get back on it today after we do this podcast. And look, we're live here. So That might even count for the day.
That counts.
yeah, we can count it. We can count it for sure.
Yeah, we'll let it pass. In the
There you
challenge
go.
that we did, no
one,
shows allowed. It was like literally raw.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
Ben. And of course, we're sorry to hear about your friend. But I love how you put bringing the brick, right, to lay it as your foundation.
Yeah.
Actually, today I was watching a video about Jeff Bezos, right? I mean, with all this space stuff.
His dick rocket.
Yeah, literally. So it has been really funny, honestly, to see the reaction of people online, man, like the haters and the supporters. Like, I'm so entertained, honestly, by the comments on all the posts more than by the actual, post itself.
Yeah.
But, regardless of the position that you're in with Jeff Bezos, right? He was talking about you need to be, kind of like just crazy for your vision, but you need to be elastic, right? That's not the word that he said. He used a different word, but that's the first one that comes to mind. You need to be elastic when it comes to execution, because it's like you mentioned, right? You cannot just, hey, this is the cathedral, this is what we're going to do on that. Like, the path is going to bring obstacles that is going to shape your path differently than what you were expecting to be. And your action, therefore, is going to have to be changing, right? Like the great philosopher Ross Geller says, pivot, right? Like, we're going to have to pivot plenty of times.
Or like Ross Geller.
What?
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I said wow, bro, you didn't get the joke. I'm so disappointed of you. I said the great philosopher Ross Geller.
I know. I tuned that out. Philosopher. I'm like, I was thinking of the Friends scene. Like already. I'm like, and then
I literally said the great philosopher Ross Geller.
I'm like, what was that? Philosopher?
And he's like, oh, Ross Geller. Oh my gosh, guys, you can tell he tunes out when I talk. But yeah, it's about that, right? It's about laying one piece at a time, receiving feedback, and then, okay, let me go get the second brick, because maybe the brick that you had in your hands at the moment doesn't fit where you want to put it. And then when getting feedback, it's like, oh, I need a smaller brick, right? Boom. And you bring the other one and you set it up in there. So I think that is so important for people to understand, because I think many people begin with, you hear begin with the end in mind. So they are like, that is the only path. When begin with the end in mind means just have goals that are clear, right? Like, have a vision, but that doesn't mean there's only one way to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of people, when they start a business, they expect the entire path to be laid out in front of them. Like, they got to know like every single step, and they won't start until they know every step along the way. What I've noticed is that it's a lot more like you're walking in the dark and there's a lighthouse, and all you're doing is you're looking close to where that light is, and you don't know if there's mountains or rivers or rocks or anything in front of you. You have no idea what's actually out there, but there's a light in the darkness, and that's all you need to know. And then you've got about 2 or 3 steps that are lit in front of you, and all you're needing to do is like you got to have faith in your business. You got to know that if you're going to show up every day, it's not going to have like, I think people expect to make millions of dollars and like instantly have their problem solved. If they don't, then they go and expect to like, okay, well then I'll just go get a job. Dude, that sounds like a horrific way of working. Yeah. If you're to compare that in like any other way, it's like, hey, well, I'll go on. I think I want to marry this girl, but if she doesn't end up liking pizza, then I'm going to divorce her. And you're like, first of all, you're not married. You're like going on a date with this person. Yeah. You're expecting marriage. You're expecting like this family and all these things. And then all of a sudden to come to find out like one thing goes wrong. So therefore the entire dream about that goes off the rails. Yeah. It's funny how like some people just get stuck, and they get stuck in just thinking. Instead, what you should do is, first of all, build some sort of like morning routine just to get you in action. That was the biggest thing that changed for me, was putting some sort of routine before I started work, so that by the time I got to work, it was like as if a train had started to take off. And instead of expecting the train to be at full speed by the time that I wake up, it's like, okay, no, this train's going to take a little minute. Got to go work out, take a cold shower, write my morning journal, like meditate, eat a healthy breakfast, like no carbs, that kind of stuff. And then by the time I get to work, the train's in motion. Now I can start to do something. Yeah. And I've already got proof that I've been doing something all morning. So my brain's like, okay, yeah, we got this. We can keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Instead, what happened beforehand, before I started that, it was like I expected my brain to just be like at 100% from the time that I woke up to the time that I went to bed, no breaks in between, just like hustle for 12 hours. And then you're like, but why am I broke? Why am I still poor? And you're like, maybe it's because of the way that you work. Like, it's got nothing else. Like, maybe you have an amazing idea and maybe you got funding. Maybe you've got a great business partner. But what you don't have is a schedule or like taking a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, before you go, I have a pretty deep question for you, Ben. Since you were talking about pizza, do you put pineapple on your pizza?
It's not a consistent flavor that I have, but I do like it.
Yes, you're on my team. Let's go.
Pineapple team.
Team pineapple. Let's go.
Yeah, I like a little bit of sweet with savory.
I know.
Yeah, right. It's amazing, but
Another T-shirt coming. Team Pineapple. Let's go.
Yeah, Team Pineapple.
Ube, this has been so fun. Couple last questions before we wrap up the show today. What will be some action point? I mean,
Wait. No, before we go there, real quick, yeah, we need to dive a little bit deeper on the how people can make their marketing great again with comedy, right? Like, obviously, step number one is go to comedy.io, comedy with a K, right? So KOMEDY.io.
Yeah.
And obviously work with Ben. That's step number one. But in case you want to, step into the world of comedic marketing, humorous marketing, that's how you call it, right? Humor marketing.
Humor advertising. You can type in humoradvertising.com, takes you to the same website, or make ads funny again. Which
make ads funny again.
I truly believe so what happens is a lot of companies, they have the idea that they want to be funny until they actually get presented with something that's funny. And then they're like, well, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to like ostracize like our audience. We don't want to like make anyone feel like excluded. The thing about something that's funny is that sometimes someone might feel a little left out. Yeah. Not saying that you got to pick a specific group to do it, but what you're doing is you're making fun of something. You're making fun of an idea or the way that someone handles how their day goes. Yep. Like the ad that I did was making fun of people who live in small spaces, but really I was a person living in a small space at the time. So it was a concept of like everything that's wrong with living in a small space. And that is what ended up being funny was you're like your bathroom 6 feet away from your bed. That's a pro because in the middle of the night, right, you only got 6 steps. But if you also lay a deuce in there, your bathroom's also 6 feet away from your bed. So it's going to smell. So there's like things that you can do to relate to people.
Yeah.
What ends up happening though is 2020 came around and suddenly, dude, we just got all soft and weird. And it's like,
what happened?
You can't make jokes any longer, which to me tells you this is actually the best time for your brand. If you want to stick out, other brands aren't willing to go this way. Therefore, there's an open market of people who are looking to laugh and willing to put their money where they find relatability.
Yeah. People want to take a side, honestly. They're going to be like, man, like I love their voice, what they stand for, and I'm going to be with them and I'm going to support these people. Fun fact, actually, last night I was, on TikTok and I saw this video that literally I cracked up for 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. I was just straight laughing for 5 minutes on the same video. I'm not going to say what the video was about, but I'm just going to say...
Can't leave us hanging.
I'm just going to say I wasn't 100% proud that I was laughing at the video, right?
But you can't control what you laugh at, right?
Exactly.
If it's inherent, it's coming from here, it's like... That means that something inside of you is relating to what is being said. And it's someone who's saying something that you wish you could say that you're not saying.
Exactly. So, so I was cracking up and I got the video and I sent it to my best friend and I started writing. I'm like, hey, like, dude, watch this video. It is a little bit out there, but it's really funny. Let me know what you think. And then before I sent it, I was like, why am I excusing myself for laughing at this? I'm going to delete this. I'm going to send it with no context to see if he actually finds it funny too, right? And I wake up and his text was just a full ha 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 like across the screen. And he was like, bro, he's like, you always get the good ones. I was like, dude, it was so freaking fun.
Amazing. Send it to me.
We have a live question here. So what if my client thinks being funny doesn't mean being respected as a real business? Thank you for your question, Jakub.
Business. So, like, if you're trying to get adopt dogs and you're like an animal rescue, maybe not. Maybe you just go with like the traditional Sarah McLachlan song, right? Show sad dogs. I could do it. It really, here's a good thought is like, is the customer the type of person that's going to buy this? Would they also appreciate laughing? That's just like an honest question. If so, like you got to think of the customer, right? And then also the product. So a lot of people get stuck up and they're like, what if the product is not funny? Well, think about ads that have worked in the past. Like I love all the Harmon Brothers ads. I think those guys knock it out of the park. They do great stuff.
Yeah.
So you think about like the Squatty Potty. It was a pooping unicorn that they had presented. But did you know the Squatty Potty before the Harmon Brothers marketed it was going to be marketed as just a medical device for old people?
Wow.
That would have failed.
Yeah,
right?
that would have failed.
Wow.
But yeah, they came out with an ad, and because of the ad, it now was introduced into lots of other stores that it originally wouldn't have made it into. Like Poopery, it's also like, you could also be like, well, this is potty stuff. Maybe. There's Lakanto. Lakanto put out an ad that was very funny about granola. Granola is not funny, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing inherent about funny granola. But what made it funny was all the other things that other granola companies put into the ad. You can go check it out, Lakanto commercial on YouTube. I think
to that, right? Like we were on this kick of Deadpool guy. Ryan Reynolds, right? Like, and he
great.
He has an agency that's what they do now. Like they grab these incredible products and things that he's invested in, and they just like give this incredible twist, right? And the product itself is not funny, but it's like how they're tackling the conversation, right? Or the social aspect around it. I mean, there was an ad with that dating app. What's it called? Match.com, right? With the devil.
Match.com with the devil in 2020.
So good. And it's like, okay, we're jumping on this wave of 2020 topics, right? And we're adapting it to this situation of the app, things that happen through the app, through this character, right? Attractive character. So there's these elements, right, that you can put in place. And I mean, I'm sure there's people that got offended because 2020 was not a good year for many, right? Like, and including us, right? Like, it was tough for everybody. But at the same time, that thing was hilarious, right? And I'm like, oh man, I told Katie, I'm like, babe, should we start using Match.com again? Just this ad is so incredible, right? And she's like, no. Okay,
it just makes light of the situation too, right? And this is where my take on being funny doesn't mean being respected, right? I think people attach a feeling to when they are doing the transaction at the end of the day, right? And I'm going to go back to the examples of the puppies. All these ads for most nonprofits, I'm going to throw a random stat out there, right? But it's like, let's say 90% of these nonprofits that want you to make a donation, they're literally like playing on guilt. Like all their ads, it's like, oh, dude, I feel so guilty. Let me give him my money. And then next time you're not excited to donate again. You're just more guilty that you haven't donated, right? So it's like that feeling, like now your feeling is, sadness and a dark feeling towards this company because they're making you feel X way, right? But if you include comedy, right? If you make it funny for them to laugh, it doesn't mean that you're playing small of the situation, that there are puppies out there that require of care, right? But you can put it in a way that is going to put a smile on their face and that is going to want them to make them happy to actually do the transaction, right? So now the feeling that they have with your company, if that of happiness, of laughter, is like, dude, like it was so exciting. Guess what? When my friend, whenever he's looking for a puppy, I'm going to tell him to go rescue here because this is a great brand. Now, and honestly, I feel like there's a personal opinion right now, but I feel like the being respected now in the business world for not being funny it's an old school thought, honestly. I think it's very old school. The content game, the social media game has changed the stage for everybody. People want to be trusted. People want to relate. And guess what? I mean, if your client doesn't like humor, well, okay, cool. I mean,
that's a
cool.
Different client, yeah.
If that's the type of clients that you might like to work with, awesome, right? Like, no, obviously we're not judging here. Personally, for me, I'm like, dude, I would love somebody that has a sense of humor, that wants to laugh, that wants to enjoy the process as well, right? So again, I think it's
think about like insurance companies. Like Geico came out in 1999 with the gecko. The reason why they actually came out with this is because there was an actor's strike at the time. Well, that was a happy accident, as Bob Ross would put it, right? They ended up making this little gecko that had a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of sass to him. And now, look, 2021, every single car insurance company that you see has some sort of humor into it. You've got Liberty Mutual, you've got Nationwide, right? The disaster guy or whatever he goes by.
It's funny.
Progressive
Geico pushes out, State Farm, every single insurance company. Those are major players in the market. Yeah. They're the most respected companies out there. And yet the way that they're able to get their names out there is because they have a little bit of humor. Now, I'm sure that those ads probably started off a lot funnier before it went through the HR and legal department. I always see an ad, I'm like, what was the original ad? That's what I would rather watch what the comedian had originally written, because that probably would stick even harder. But
that should be there should be a show of just first versions of these ads, right? Like, okay, can we grab, this will be incredible, can we grab those scripts and actually produce the ads how they're meant to be before they go to the...
That'd be amazing.
We should talk about this after.
Yeah, but one of my favorite ones, and I know we have to transition here towards the last couple questions.
We have to wrap up, basically.
But one of my favorite ones is the State Farm, where the guy's like sitting on the couch and the wife is like walking down the stairs and he's pumping a ball. Right, he's like just like pumping a ball, but his wife is just like looking at him from the back, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like talking on the phone with Jake from State Farm, but she doesn't hear it. She's like, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "Jake from State Farm," and he's just like pumping the ball.
No, the pumping the ball was an Umbro one that he was actually about to go play soccer.
No, it's not Jake from State Farm.
I promise you.
We're gonna look him up.
I could do the visual. That'd be very funny.
I'm gonna prove FONZI wrong. All right, Ben. Last question. Very important question. And just to be honest, it's because we have an onboarding call like right after this. So here's the last question.
Get the show on.
I know, we're gonna have to do part two for sure.
Part two. Absolutely.
Make ads great again.
Here's the worst part. FONZI was he knew this, and I don't know why he kept asking questions. But anyways, Ben, where would you be if you didn't publish or your clients didn't publish?
Dude, that's a great question. So I recognize that a lot of the stuff that I'm putting out there to like other people is for them to go out and put more content out there, because we're living in a new age. Like 10 years ago, social media was at a form or like at a place where it was cool to be on there. Now it's the standard, right? Yeah. And in fact, you were probably even weird if you think about it. Like everything starts out as like, it looks kind of stupid. It doesn't look like it's going to be the norm. And now it's the norm. Like if you want your brand to exist, it has to exist somewhere online, unless you're one of those like Fortune 500 companies that can keep rolling because they have a lot of network already. But every new company that's going to continually come out and become big is going to have some sort of publishing around it. I think even Elon Musk said the reason why he got to where he's at now is because of, he says, to control your memes. Like find people who can create memes, and that's how he exploded as like the favorite billionaire of today. So at publishing, whether it's video or find your own way of doing it, right? Like Elon Musk and his memes, like he's not publishing himself, but he's able to build up a following because of it.
Yeah.
You've got videos, you've got YouTube, whatever it is, at some point you're going to need to exist online, because this is where all business is going to exist.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love that word, control your memes. And at the end of the day, it's like, are you controlling your distribution channels, right? Like right before this, the call that we were at, that's the same thing. Like person that works in auctions, and they're trying to control the distribution channels, right? To make sure that they control the message and the different things. And how are you comfortable sharing or controlling the distribution channels? Each style is going to be different, right? For you, and we're with you, man. Like humor and comedy has to be there, right? Like definitely this show would not be as great as it is without my dad jokes, like 100%. So
we attribute 99% of these shows.
Carrying the show here.
Yeah, exactly. 99% of the success is thanks to my brother's jokes.
Thank you, FONZI.
I had to dig it. You started, Luis.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
If you guys want to watch a real good example of adding humor to your brand regardless of your political inclination, go and check out Daily Wire on Instagram.
Yes.
Dude, the way they like use memes to share their opinion and their voice, I mean, it's so good. It does it, actually differentiates the audience. Yeah, 100%. People are like, oh, they either hate it or they love it. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And the people that love him are freaking crazy about that brand. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good example. Honestly.
Homework, Ben. You got to restart your 45 Live and then Daily Wire.
There it is.
No, dude, Ben,
45 Live.
Ben, thank you, man. Where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? What's the best way?
So I'm hanging out on Instagram quite a bit these days. So Ben LL Wilson with 2 L's. That's the inference of like 2 L's. So Ben LL Wilson, WILLSON. Or go to comedy.io, comedy with a K. And I got a new podcast that just came out called Win with Wit. I just got 1 episode up on this one, but there's like another 16 that we've got stashed in the bag right now to be released.
Yes.
So good stuff.
Let's go. I'll be there. All right, let's go. Ben, anything else you want to add before we head out?
Dude, this has been a great time. You guys are amazing hosts. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. The crowd
goes wild
for Ben.
Let's go. They even brought the horns and everything. Let's go.
Amazing, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to talk about scripts for the new version of the show at some point. Maybe BIZBROS 3.0 and with you guys. That'll be fun. That will be the live version.
We've got 300 comedians in our database, so a lot of them, they're all professional comedians, just different times, different backgrounds. So that's a benefit to you guys. Find someone who works for you.
Hey, we can have a Comedy is Profit segment.
Comedy is Profit.
Comedy is Profit.
I'm just going to rip off you guys. That'll be the next podcast.
Yeah, it's okay. The Business 19. No, I'm kidding. No, I love it, Ben. Dude, thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation. I really appreciate you. We're in your corner. I hope you are in ours as well. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow the show on your favorite social media channel and at BIZBROS.
That is right. And if Ben here made you laugh today, please don't forget to share this episode with somebody else. You might make them laugh as well. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.